Attention, everyone. I'd like to make representative town meeting, a regular meeting on Monday, June 1st, 2020, to order at 7 p.m. at the Waterford Town Hall under a Zoom conference. And ask everybody to rise to salute to the flag, please.
You can look to my screen for a flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the
republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, Mr. Muckle.
if I might, a moment of personal preference, could we just have a minute of silence for the unity and peace in our
Huh. Unity and peace in our nation.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Rich. Now I'll ask the clerk to call the roll call, please.
Greg Attanasio.
Here.
Mr. Bono.
Here.
Ms. Brashali.
here,
Ms. Cairns.
here,
Mr. Condon.
Here.
Mr. Dembeck.
Here.
Ms. Driscoll.
here,
Mr. Elsey.
Here.
Mr. Fioravanti.
Here.
Ms. Murray.
here,
Mr. Gauthier.
Here.
Mr. Goldstein.
here,
Ms. Cole.
here,
Mr. Lurch.
I'm here.
Ms. Mativier.
here,
Mr. Morgan. Mr. Muckle.
Here.
Mr. O'Leary.
Here.
Mr. Olinson.
Here.
Ms. Ritchie.
here,
Mr. Ropetti. Ms. Stewart Jelinas.
here,
Mr. Swanson. Mr. Swanson. I did see him, but. And Mr. Welch Collins.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Dave. We have a quorum. Next on the agenda, to consider and act upon the minutes of the May 11th through the 14th, 2020 special budget meeting. What's your pleasure? We have a motion.
So moved.
second,
Motion saved by Danielle. Discussion, correction. Any comments? Any comments on our budget meeting? No comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? I believe it's unanimous. Thank you. Under correspondence, I received something from the Board of Finance, so I'll read to everybody. I don't think it was included in the budget package. I mean, in the package that went out. It's from the chairman of the Board of Finance. What to the town tax collector. On May 20th, 2020, meeting of the Board of Finance, the board approved the mill rate of 27.87 mills for FY21 based upon the budget approval by the RTM at its annual budget meeting convened on May 11th, 2020 and adjourned on May 14th, 2020. The mill rate was set based upon the anticipated collection rate of 99.1%. Sincerely, Ronald Fedor, Chairman, Board of Finance. The other thing that was received on the correspondence, I believe everybody got a copy in the package on item D, which we'll have to bring up later on at night on new business, is a request from Abby Purcell, our Director of Planning and Development, title proposed change to the Waterford Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2.20 and 2.58, enabling the facilities manager position to be moved from the Planning Department to the Department of Public Works. I'll have to take that up at the end of our agenda.
I'm concerned that we're having connection issues to YouTube again, like we did on Thursday that last night.
What's
I'm
that?
concerned that we're having connection issues to YouTube going live. I'm getting those red and yellow flashes again.
Our IT believes there's a connection problem with YouTube right now, so we're holding things up for a second, okay?
Just give me 1 sec. What I'm going to do is bring up the YouTube channel itself. Okay, everything seems to be okay.
We're okay to proceed?
We are good to go.
Yep, sorry for the interruption.
That's right. Okay, go on to item F, committee reports and referrals. On item F, we have the moderator's report. On the education committee, we have restoration / use of the Nevis Cottage. On the public health and recreation environment, we have review, evaluate beach fees pricing. And on the public protection and safety, review and enactment of a stipend program for volunteer firefighters. I don't have any committee reports in front of me tonight, but I know the public safety committee, public health and recreation environment, we have review program for the volunteer firefighters, so I know that's in progress. Item G on the agenda, appointees, any liaison updates? Any liaison updates?
No hands, Tom.
I can get the report on the municipal complex. Municipal complex is going on quite a bit on schedule. The office staff, and the mechanical maintenance shop, and the utility commission are all in the new building, and the maintenance department is operating out of the new building. As of last Friday, they disconnected all the utilities to the old building, the sewer, the water, the fire protection, and the mechanical maintenance shop. The abatement contractor is in there doing abatement. And as far as I know, the wrecking contractor is lined up ready to go as soon as the abatement is completed. So phase 2 will be taking down the garage part of the building and the old office section. And the goal, I guess, is to get all that occupied by the end of this calendar year. Let's move along pretty smoothly. Anything else on the liaison reports? No, we're going to transaction of business on the call. The concern act upon a recommendation of Board of Finance table from the February meeting for an appropriation amount of $26,000 from line item 205-31520 undesignated fund balance based on specificity with a capital improvement plan to purchase real estate located at 13 Park Drive. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. You get that, Dave? Mr. Muckle made it. Driscoll seconded it.
Yep.
We have with us the town attorney, so this time I'll give the microphone to the town attorney and explain, I think, where we stand in this. I think we're ready to go.
Evening, everybody. Town Attorney Rob Avina on this issue regarding 13 Parkway Drive. As you recall, we've kind of held this one up for a while. We did not have our final approvals from the seller's side. The seller is an estate, and the probate judge had to approve any prospective sale of the parcel.
Oh, let's see.
Here I am.
Okay.
So we had an issue with the probate judge. Originally, he rejected the sale proposed to the town. And last Thursday, I went on a Zoom meeting in the probate court with the attorney for the seller, and with some help from Abby's office and our new zoning officer, put together a memo and persuaded the judge that in fact he may consider this a buildable lot. And we did do a title search, but the ability to build on this 2,500 square foot lot left it with a footprint of buildability of about 400 square feet. He may consider this a buildable lot. Start at 10 feet, and we did do a title search guidelines. So building there would be highly problematical, and I convinced the judge that the town's purpose for the parcel was to add it to an adjoining parcel that had been gifted to us and was a conservation easement parcel, and would make a nice location for passive recreation and in that neighborhood. And based upon that, the judge supported the sale, and we got him to reverse himself and approve the sale. So we've crossed that last hurdle, and now we're before you because we've also received the Board of Finance approval for the expenditure of the $26,000. As you can see in front of you, the sales contract was for $25,000.
Nice.
I added $1,000 to help to soften the cost of the title search and some of the preparation of for the closing. So we went for the extra $1,000. With that $26,000 and with the 8-24 approval from Abby's office and a positive review from Maureen Fitzgerald, our environmental officer, support of the Board of Selectmen and the support of Board of Finance, I'm pleased that I'm able to come back before you here in June and ask that support of the board the purchase, and we can add it to the town inventory.
Any questions from members of the RTM?
No hands.
Yeah, I have one. Raise your hand.
Ted Linson got the floor.
Yes, to Mr. Moderator, definitely I am in favor of voting yes on this motion. However, I think my criticism is more towards recreation and parks. For those of you who have gone down to look at this property, there are stakes in the ground defining the parcel we own and the parcel that we intend to purchase. The parcel we presently own cannot be walked upon. The brush is about 3-4 feet high, and it's totally been, it's a deplorable condition. All right. The only access to the cove right now is a 10-foot wide mowed piece of land on the property we are proposing to purchase. My question is, I don't live in that part of town. I don't visit Ridgewood Park very often. Recreation and Parks does a nice job manicuring the park itself with the benches, the triangular piece of property in the middle. But as far as the cove, the piece on the cove, it's impassable. I don't know why it's been neglected for so many years. And I think somebody should do something to make that more attractive for the people that use that access by canoe or kayak. So again, I don't live in that part of town, but I would hope that those of you that live in that part of town would put some pressure on Recreation and Parks to kayak, make that place more so usable friendly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. I think the first selectman has the hand up to Mike Bono. Mr. Rule?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, Ted, you brought up a very good point. This was something we just talked about 2 weeks ago. Once we realized COVID was here, and we had to make adjustments to our schedules for hundreds and hundreds of acres to maintain with 3 people at some point, because 3 people being out. They're very much aware that this is going to be an area that needs to be upkept. There are 7 other properties that we've gotten caught behind. We don't argue that fact at all, Ted. Right now, we're in the process of getting caught up. It's going to be on our list of routine maintenance parks. As you know, that park right near Riverside, Ridgewood, right when you get in, that does get mowed and it does get taken care of. So we just got to add this property once this is COVID settles down a little bit and we get a full strength, everyone back. But we do plan on getting that place upkept in the next couple of weeks as we start our summer season. But your point's well taken, Ted.
Thank you.
Mr. Bono, you got the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I just want to applaud the town in reaching out and going forward and pursuing this property purchase. I think it's a fantastic thing. Anytime we can afford a public land purchase, all the residents of the town of Waterford will then be owners of this property and be able to utilize it. And speaking on behalf of my district and the town of Waterford, I think everyone appreciates the town's going out there and pursuing pieces of public property for our citizens to recreate on.
Thank you, Mike. Mr. Ellis, you got the floor next.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Those were great points. It is overgrown down there and it will need to be kept up. And the reason for that is not just for recreational purposes for all the folks in that area who are really, really excited about this, but for environmental reasons. In order to dredge the cove, you can't get dredging equipment under the bridge. It's too shallow. So it will need water access. So this parcel of land will be expanded and kept clean so equipment can be brought in so the cove can be dredged and ultimately saved, because that's the goal. So Ted, great point. And yes, I'm with you on that. That would need to be cleared out to make sure that for recreational purposes, this is complete access to the water, and for environmental purposes, we've got all the space we need to do the work that the environmentalists will need to do.
Thank you, Steve. Mike McCarty, you got the floor next.
Thanks, Tom, through you, Mr. Moderator. I just want to echo Mike, Steve, Ted as well. Anytime we can spend, especially small amount of money like this, and do something to improve the town and future uses as well down the road, I support.
Any other comments on this particular motion? Any other comments on this particular motion? If not, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? I believe that's unanimous. Guys have it. Next item on the agenda is to act upon recommendation from Planning and Zoning Commission to accept a piece of land at 23 Old Norwich Road. I hear a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Got the motion made and seconded. Who seconded it? Danielle. I think with us tonight, our planning director Abby is with us tonight, so if you want to just summarize what's, I think the take of and give us more area for sidewalk. Abby, available?
Absolutely. So this proposal is essentially just cleaning up the property boundaries that are already in existence, and so or that an encroachment of a sidewalk on a private property. So essentially, the sidewalk in this location is already built. There's no funds that need to be expended to put a sidewalk in. It's simply that portion of the sidewalk, when it was constructed, was found to have been constructed on private property. This was discovered when somebody came in over the winter to subdivide the land adjacent to it into 3 parcels. That whole process has been approved and is moving forward. Folks are looking at building permits and getting going. But the last portion, and one of the conditions that the Planning and Zoning Commission placed on it, was to move this 330 square foot approximately area into town ownership, essentially making it consistent with the rest of the sidewalk in the area. So it's really just a cleanup move, but it does require the RTM's review because we'd be accepting the interest in that land.
Mr. Wagner, you got the floor.
She's muted.
I think you're on mute.
You're on mute, Mary.
There we go. Abby, can you hear me? Through you, Mr. Moderator. Yep. I went by the property this weekend just to make sure I knew where it was. And so I get the sidewalk part, but just to let you know, there's quite a bit of erosion on that hill from whatever working they're doing on that property right now. It's blowing.
We'll go out tomorrow and take a look.
Yeah, it's blowing out to the sidewalk that I think we're going to approve tonight.
Great. We'll go take a look. Thank you.
Any other questions on item 2? Any other questions on item 2? Not, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? The ayes have it. We'll call it unanimous. Item 3 on the agenda. Consider an act upon a recommendation from the Board of Selectmen to convey a permanent gas line easement to Yankee Gas Company, DBA Eversource Energy, for $50,000 located at 1000 Hartford Road over the presently existing temporary gas easement. I hear a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Susan, seconded by Rich Muckle. You read the backup material, I think it has to do with the construction of the new public works facility at that location, and they're getting away from oil heat and going to natural gas heat, so they needed this new gas line put in. I think our public works director, I think I saw him on the call earlier if you got any questions, and the first select was also here. Mr. Avino asked for the floor. Attorney.
He's muted.
Can't hear. Sorry.
Yeah. Still muted, Dave.
There you go.
Okay.
Town Attorney Rob Avina again, to go over this one with you. So in your packet, you can see that there's a bit of a title history story here. We were working on the project from the beginning in terms of the new construction. And during the survey process and title work, we picked up once again that there was a temporary gas easement that ran through the property from circa 1991 between the town of Waterford and its first selectman and Yankee Gas. When I realized this, I read the language and understood that there was never an action taken by this RTM to approve a permanent easement, which would require RTM action, and that the agreement actually anticipated that at some point we would take action to consider a permanent easement. We use the easement ourselves. It does run down the main driveway past Yost through the parking lot and back out the other side. This is to avoid the peat and wetlands area of 1000 Hartford Road in frontage, and gets the main around that very soft area there of 85. We tap off it. We're tapping off it for the new building as we did the old building. We tap off it for the utility building that's behind it. And Yost Construction taps off our driveway for their business. So we have a use for this easement and gas as well as Yankee Gas. This is the main easement and gas distribution that heads for Crystal Mall and all the services along 85. So we entered into negotiations with Yankee Gas in order to determine a fair price for the permanent easement. Their appraisal came back at $25,000. The Board of Selectmen and the first selectman and I took a look at it and determined that it seemed low given the time period that they've been enjoying their easement. So we went back into negotiations with them and came up with the price of $50,000, which the Board of Selectmen, upon my recommendation, determined was a reasonable value. We got Yankee Gas a couple months ago to agree to that number. So with that, our next steps would be to have this considered by the RTM, and then I would go ahead. The maps, of course, have already been drawn. It's exactly the same footprint as the other gas easement. It will not change. The pipe will not change for now. and we've made accommodation through the new driveway to be aware that the gas is there and no permanent improvements will be placed over it. So with that, we are now asking for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Avina. Nick Carthy, I think you're asking for the floor. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I think you hit on some of the questions I was going to have, but one remaining is that $50,000 amount. Is there a reason that, and again, to what you brought up with the benefit that they've been receiving for the years that there has been an easement, the benefit that Yankee Gas will be receiving for the lifetime of this easement, is there a reason that it's only 50,000 and not more? Is there any sort of legal maximum there, or could we even ask for more?
Town Attorney Rob Avina again. Sure. The appraisal on it, and I've done a couple of these in my towns that I work with, an underground easement is typically valued at a certain level of that customarily these appraisers come up with. In this one, they basically looked at it like it was a $3 a square foot to have underneath a piece of our property the gas easement. We have total control over the surface. We get to use it for whatever purposes we choose. And so that diminishes the value that we get for it, because essentially it's unnoticed until they have to actually do any work on it. And then we obviously have to provide them room to do so. And then they have to return it to the reasonable condition that it was in prior to that. So if you measured out the distance of this easement, we essentially said that no, they tried to say, well, $3 a square foot is what the value is, but we're going to reduce that by half because, obviously it's underground and doesn't disturb you. And we asked for the full value, which was the $3. So we basically doubled their number and said, based upon that, that's a reasonable value to the town because, of course, what I didn't tell them, what I'm telling you tonight is that we have certain critical structures that now attach to that very easement and to that very gas line. So we're essentially being paid, but at the same time, that property is taking full advantage of the fact that we don't have to run our lines out to Route 85. So, yeah, that's what judgment is all about, and that's what I explained to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay. Yeah, my primary concern, this does seem to be something that is almost necessary at this point. But in terms of the payment that we're receiving, for however long natural gas is going to be flowing through this area in this pipeline, that all presents an inherent risk of natural gas. Even if it is underground, it still presents some sort of a risk to our town, to people in that area. And I want us to make sure that we're being fully compensated for taking on that risk for the lifetime of this pipeline and easement. So I guess if you think that $50,000 is a fair enough price to cover the cost of those risks, that's my thought, that if we can ask for more, I would like us to.
Town Attorney Rob Avina again. We certainly list any encumbrances against the property with our insurer, but certainly here, the easement holder, in this case Yankee Gas, will be fully responsible for the actions of the pipe as long as we don't dig it up with one of our backhoes. So for our negligence is not involved, we're in pretty good shape on the liability issue.
Any other questions on this subject? Any other questions on this subject? If no other questions on this subject, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed? No.
Got that?
I just got Nick as opposing. Is that it? Anybody else? Thank you.
Anybody abstain? Motion passes. Last item on the agenda, item 4, consider act upon a recommendation from the Board of Finance to approve a transfer of $1 million from the unassigned fund balance to the undesignated fund balance of the capital non-recurring program. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Driscoll, second it.
I got it.
All those same. I believe Kim Allen is available tonight. If anybody has any questions, or if Kim, you want to explain at all?
Yep, this is a request that the Board of Finance wants. It's really just a contingency move. We cut a significant amount from our capital current year in non-recurring capital during the budget process this year. And in case something comes up that the town must correct or repair, this just puts us one step closer to having those funds available to do so.
Thank you, Kim. Any questions from our finance director? Any questions from our finance director? If not, we'll take this to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hey. Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? The ayes have it. Thank you. On the new business, I would like to bring up item B, a request from our planning director, Abby Purcell, of the proposed change, the ordinances, to let the facility manager be removed from planning department and report to the public works department. I'll entertain a motion that be referred to public works planning and development.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded that this item D be referred to public works planning and development. Any discussion? Any discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? The ayes have it. Thank you. Is there any other new business at this time? Is there any other business at this time? If not, a motion to adjournment is in order.
Move.
You haven't made it, Dave?
I didn't get it.
Who made the motion? Who seconded it?
Second.
Mr. Collins?
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Abstain? The ayes have it. Meeting adjourned. Thank you for your time tonight.